or in the recording after. There will be impact. We're going to cover the 3 biggest challenges in higher education. And this also applies if you are a private or vocational learning supplier. We're going to look at what are the solutions available, whether you decide to build this system and this solution yourself. We're going to talk a little bit about the strategy behind it, or if you decide to partner with a company like Abodoo. And we're really going to look at the actionable insights that you can take into 2025. So a little bit about myself. My name is Vanessa Wainwright. I'm the founder of Abodoo, and really for the last 20 plus years, I've worked in the skills industry. And my passion is around democratizing access to learning and opportunities. Because if we do that, ultimately everyone has a great life. And actually, it influenced the name of our company, Abodoo, this belief that if someone has access to learning and working, the do, they'll ultimately can have their own home, the abode. And our mission is to support educational providers around the world with world-class skilled technology that enables them to produce curriculum that meets the needs of industry and of students and learners. I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Elisa from London. Elisa looks after all of our relationships with higher education and private education. The brilliant thing about Elisa is that she's coming from your world. She can explain it to us from the tech side, the pains and the challenges and the needs of higher education. And we're very excited to be working together because, you know, in this world that's moving so quickly, Dr. Elisa is actually focused on AI and has been educated in AI as well. So we're coming from it from my industry background, educational background, and AI. So at the end of this session, you should be really equipped with some actions that you can take to your organization or institution. Okay, so let's talk about the top challenges in higher education. So really the first is around this fragmented skills accreditation system. Up until now, higher education, for example, was very much focused on the degree or the master's. And at the end of that, a graduate was provided with the degree certification, of which the person has to try and navigate how they can take that qualification and work out the right career path. Obviously, there are traditional career paths like accountancy and law, and it's very straightforward. But as it becomes more fragmented and it becomes more of a focus on human skills, hard skills can be acquired, AI taking over more hard skills. Really, it's becoming very fragmented from the perspective of, well, actually, graduates and alumni, what they need is the skills information that they're acquiring on the course, whether it's a 4-year degree or a micro-credential 6-week course. And there's this widening skills gap that's happening with industry. I mean, every year it's becoming wider. What does industry need? Do they even know what they need? And then higher education, if they're going to take 1 or 2 years to research, develop the curriculum, how can we ever close this gap? And then the financial pressure for education globally as a result of the competition, but now rising costs mean there really is a need to look at innovative skills first solutions. So what is the urgency? Well, this widening skills gap means that the employability of graduates for traditional industries may continue for the near to short term, but actually, as we now move into a world where new skills are acquired and required, and we need curriculum to be updated faster, that information is needed if we're going to maintain the employability of graduates and support the lifelong learning of alumni. Employers need beyond just the degree in today's world. It's getting very complex, the level of skills that employers need and need verified and certified. So again, really looking at this skills taxonomy, of which you're probably, like many other educational providers right now, realizing, oh, we need a skills taxonomy. And you might be deciding, well, should we, if you're in Europe listening or dialing in, you might be looking at ESCO. If you're in America, you might be looking at ONET. But is that sufficient? Is it updated enough? Is it what your employer partners want? And then finally, students. this personalized journey. Students are craving it, not just actually at third level, but even before third level. How can we, beyond just giving them a CV template and Google, say to them, well, these are the natural skills you have, these are the skills that you'll acquire in these courses, and here are the career pathways, and here are the earning potentials. We can provide this information, and it's actually really important that we do. So at this point, I'd love to hand over to Elisa, who's going to talk a little bit about the educational landscape.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yes, just to give a bit of context, also for what Vanessa is going to tell you next. The educational landscape has seen a significant shift in the last few years. And, it started with the rise of online learning, which has led to the proliferation of online courses and degree programs, and a shift from consideration of traditional higher education institutions as the only providers of degrees, really, to a wider choice of online platforms offering variety of programs, catering to diverse learning styles and more flexible to individual needs and schedules, thinking about full-time workers, for example. The notion of education itself has seen a shift towards the notion of learning, signaling a change from a more formal and institutionalized course type to a more fluid and continuous process. In fact, learning refers to diverse options, which, we could learn in formal settings in the workplace or by training providers. And then there is a bigger shift, which happened, towards a skills-based society. And this is a direct result of the fourth industrial revolution and the advent of AI and the continuous advancement of it, which brings, rapid changes to the economy and the society at large, in the way organizations work, in the way employees adapt and respond to changes. And this is exactly where, education and learning becomes central and becomes crucial. And the concept of lifelong learning, which has become a necessity in this rapidly changing economy, and that needs to be embraced by everyone, really, and catered for by educational providers, higher education first, in collaboration with industries and organizations, in order to be able to respond to the needs of the changing economy and society. In terms of what AI has brought, what kind of changes has brought to education and the economy, we have the importance of personalized learning. Advancements in data analytics and AI are enabling more personalized learning experiences. Educators are now able to tailor content and assessment to individual students' needs, for better engagement and more course completion. For example, academic success is very important. This same concept will need to be applied to employability, where AI and skills taxonomy needs to be built and updated in real time, as Vanessa was mentioning earlier on. They need to be based on the real job market needs and employed to offer students a personalized career planning. And we can use tools for that thanks to AI these days. And we can advise students on the skills needed for specific job roles and what is actually the best route to achieve them. Graduates specifically, we need to give them the best opportunities to compete in the job market based on objective and relevant skills, which are gained through their studies. There is a connection, there needs to be a better connection between education providers and industry. Technological advancement requires innovation and adaptability of organizations, but also it requires a lot of education. There is no innovation without education, and we know that historically academia and industry have been a bit of separate entities and work in a bit of a disconnected way. So we have universities on one side, which provides qualification, and then we have the industry, where they would mainly consider degrees as a signal of graduates' intellectual abilities to learn, to adapt, to commit and so on. But they would also always consider the need to train graduates to do the job they're hired for. And we need to change that. We can improve that considerably. And also the global access to education and the concept of global employability, which we need to embrace, and we need to make sure it becomes normal. Online platforms have broken geographical barriers. They allow learners from all over the world to access different kind of education, high quality education from different institutions. We have higher education institutions who have branched out in different countries, expanded their course offers, opened new campuses around the world, and this basically creates a global talent, which is often lost to the job market because, of course, students' mobility and, they lose connection with the higher education institution. They have gained their degrees sometimes. And there is a need to imagine a global network where all graduates, all learners can use a skills passport to connect with employers, with organization, and see the offer of the job market globally. A world where education institutions can also grow partnerships with many different organizations and the industry, and provide talent with verifiable and future-ready skills. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Elisa. And I think at this point, it's important to say that we've spent a number of years building the skills technology, and actually it has been our higher educational partners that have influenced the direction. And it was a year and a half, 2 years ago, when one of our partners indicated the fact that why do we spend years educating students and graduates for them to just walk out the door? And then we have to spend thousands marketing to them as alumni in the future to encourage them to maybe give us a bit of data, buy another course. But even initially, walking out the door to go to a recruitment agency or to go on the job boards, when there is the ability to actually make that exchange more effectively and create revenue. So let's look a little bit more about a learning and talent ecosystem, because that's why you're here. Like, what is it? How could you launch it for your own educational institution? And is it worth something that you want to build yourself because you've lots of developers, you've a big R&D innovation team, or should you look at partnering with a company like Abodoo? But either way, over the next few slides, we're going to talk about really the strategy and the impact moving forward for your institution. So what is a learning and talent ecosystem? Like, obviously you provide learning and education now, and there's two ways. One is a degree, master, PhD, and then lifelong learning. More and more higher educational institutions are providing micro-credentials. But actually, if we look at 70% of us need to do lifelong learning if we're going to remain really employable, there is this opportunity to provide it more effectively and not have to spend thousands marketing every time. And then there's the talent ecosystem, what element of that, and the role you can play around certification. So beyond the degree or the master's certification, connecting with the framework so you can actually give the skills taxonomy, as well as capturing real-time skills data from industry, because you've launched an ecosystem. Imagine now you don't rely on an annual survey to find out the needs of industry in the future. You can tap in at any one time, whether you're the careers division of a university or you're the head of innovation. You don't have to be a data analyst to access the information to see this is the skills gap, this is how we're going to bridge the gap. And then finally, if you're the president of a university or the person responsible for money, looking at new ways of like driving revenue and giving the competitive edge to attract global students. So AI plays a big role now in this transformation. And again, if you're the head of innovation from a university listening in right now, to explain the role of innovation from an AI perspective, it really brings it back to the skills certification. So whether you are building your own skills taxonomy, or you're using ONET, ETHCO, Lightcast, or you're doing it ad hoc or annually, whatever way you're approaching it, now more than ever is a need for a dynamic skills taxonomy. So dynamic means it's real time. It's updating at least once a month. And AI can do that if the right framework is put in from the get-go. But it's not just a standalone skills taxonomy. The skills taxonomy needs to connect to job roles. And as job roles evolve globally, and there's different definitions for the same role, depending on what culture, language, location you're coming for, you can use AI. So our internal tool for the Skills Passport is called Skills Bridge AI. And that acts as a universal skills translator and exchange. So it does not matter whether your head of academics describes a skill that's different to your employer partner. It will intuitively cluster and understand the needs to bridge that gap. But furthermore, if we think about the graduate or the lifelong learner, we need to give them more than just the certification or degree. We need to be able to give them the skills taxonomy to support future career path moves, to make it easier for recruiters to understand all of the skills they acquire during your education, not just the hard skills, but all of the hard, human, and transversal skills. By having all of this information, we can now predict workforce needs in real time, game changing for accessing funding, because now we know the needs of industry, and enhancing student engagement. So improving completion rates, learning outcomes, and reducing dropout rate. So the challenges really are around connecting the learning outcome with the workforce needs, because we're speaking different languages right now, and that there's no platform that industry can use to really and truly connect with graduates and lifelong learners that reduces bias, and that is fully inclusive in that skills first match process, whether it's skills matching for learning or it's skills matching for career pathways or job opportunities. So the solution, again, whether it's something you build yourself or you partner with, it really has to be AI driven. And it has to be built on a framework that has a solid global skills taxonomy that is constantly updating and is reflective of where and how you provide education. If you're just niche and you're doing engineering, or if you provide multiple industries with education and graduate ready professionals, well, then it's having the confidence that the taxonomy will connect and will be received well by industry in terms of understanding and seeing the true value. So how does AI close this skills gap? Like, what can we do? Well, activating the skills passport, and we'll talk about that now in a moment, is a way of visualizing all of the skills supply. If you haven't run a skills mapping algorithm over all of your courses that your students and graduates and alumni are currently conducting, then you are missing an opportunity to showcase exactly the supply that is coming through your institution. At the same time, having a learning and talent marketplace means that alumni are now plugged into your ecosystem and are providing invaluable industry data. And then you have, on the employer partner side, every time they create a skills profile to connect with future graduates or alumni that are actively seeking new roles, that skills data feeds into this map. So imagine in a year or 2 years' time, your higher education branded in your name has a global map of skilled talent, of supply and demand in real time. Imagine the course creators, the data that they're going to get as to the needs, as well as showing future students the skills gaps that you've addressed and closed, and the clusters around the world that are evolving as a result of your education. So what is the skills passport? Well, the skills passport is sort of a marrying of different tools: the traditional CV, the certification, the degrees of what you give, and then the taxonomy. But it's powered by AI to ensure that a person gets a personalized learning journey. So until now, when a school leaver was deciding on what course, we all do the same thing. We go to a search engine, We look at courses, then we navigate to which university, we do our degree or certification, then we try and have to work out what job, we apply for a job, we have hundreds of applicants. But now we have the ability through the skills passport to provide the personalized skills tracking. So imagine your students or graduates being able to go into this app on their phone and they can actually put in my desired future job, or they don't know and they're guided based on their skills. They are able to bring in their CV. So the starting point of skills is a self-volunteered skill. But from the moment you activate the skills passport, we are now authenticating every step of the way. So because all of your courses are pre-skills mapped, every time a student, learner, alumni complete a micro-credential course certificate, they are updated within their passport, not just the certification, but the skills taxonomy. And remember, you will have a dynamic global skills taxonomy relevant to your higher education institution. So it will all connect from skill to role to course. The AI-driven recommendations then are for both learning, so future learning, because let's face it, when you graduate, that is not the end of learning. That's actually just the beginning. So it'll serve up learning that's relevant, whether they're all your own courses or you decide to bring in additional learning. You've done partnerships with other institutions or providers. And then enabling seamless accreditation to make it very, very straightforward. On a simple phone, QR code, a student or graduate can show it, it can be scanned, and all of a sudden, all of those skills and certification can be authenticated. So what does a talent marketplace look like from a revenue growth perspective? Well, a good example would be one European institution we work with have activated this marketplace because they were enabling recruitment, but they weren't monetizing it. And it was a very laborious process for them. It involved a lot of hours, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of trying to match graduates to opportunities, and unconscious bias through and through, because that is the reality when you're going on a traditional way of analyzing a CV and a job spec and trying to do a keyword match. It just leads to inaccuracy. When they activated the talent marketplace, they charged companies a subscription to create a profile on this skills passport platform where they could connect with talent even before they graduated. But most important, they ensured it was D&I compliant for the students so that when their skills passport was created, if they wanted to remain anonymized and not be discovered, they could. And when the student, graduate, or alumni was ready to be discovered, they turned their passport on for discovery. But even at that point, at the skills first match, they were still anonymized. It was only when the learner decided to go into process that all the details were revealed. Game changing for employer partners. No longer were they getting attachments of CVs, spreadsheets with links to graduates. It was showing them only the best matches based on skills first and other requirements. And all the interaction was happening through the system, which meant that data in terms of graduates and skills and alumni and matches and success was available in real time. But the second revenue stream from a skills passport is also the lifelong learning. If you provide any education to your alumni right now in the form of micro-credentials, follow-on learning, and it's not being made available through a personalized recommended learning engine, then you're relying on marketing and hoping the person can connect the dots to buy the course. And every time you sell a course, you have to remarket, whether it's through email campaigns or follow-on marketing. The skills passport is an absolute game changer for ensuring that an individual can access learning. And whether you provide it in a subscription model or they buy courses as they are matched to them that are relevant, the certification of the skills taxonomy is the value add. Now you're helping companies retain talent and drive performance, and you're helping graduates have greater employability. And all of this data feeds back to your institution. So here's a real world success story. The European Institute, EIT Digital in Brussels, who work with multiple educational providers and universities and companies, as well as European Commission themselves, had a challenge. They had their courses available online, They had multiple students from multiple universities, and they had many corporate partners. But there was no centralized ecosystem, and there was really a missed opportunity for compounding and leveraging, having it all in one centralized location. The Skills Passport platform was the branded solution for them. They created a specific brand called the D Academy, standing for Digital Academy. And Abodoo powers all this skills innovation in the background. And what it has meant is now a learner, no matter where they're based across Europe, can have a skills passport. It's on their phone or they can access online, and they get a personalized learning journey served up. So even though there's 500 learning programs available on the D Academy, I will only see the courses that are relevant to the pathway that I either have recommended to me through the passport, or I have selected a job and it has created a pathway. Furthermore, there is now an ecosystem for talent, which means that those members or learners that want to be discovered can be connected with companies. And this has created a financial sustainable program for them. So, what are the pillars of success when it comes to launching this ecosystem? If you feel inspired and you know that you need to do more for your learners beyond the CV and a degree, and you feel like you need to bridge this gap more with industry, and maybe you're thinking this is something we can build ourselves or partner, the holy grail is the skills taxonomy. Because if you build a technology to recommend learning or jobs, if the skills taxonomy underneath that is not relevant, up to date, and not connecting with the skills to the jobs, to the courses, and so showing transferable skills, then it's going to mean that you're missing a trick in terms of recommendations around learning. The skills insights are also key. So for many institutions that perhaps provide some form of personalized learning, they're not leveraging necessarily the skills insights. And the data that you will get from the supply and demand through a skills passport platform is phenomenal. You will not need to do annual skill surveys with employers and industry and be chasing them to fill out a survey and knowing that as soon as you produce the report, the data is kind of legacy data. This will be dynamic, and you won't need to be a data analyst to extract the gold. You'll be able to go in and see it in real time. And then finally, continuous engagement and lifelong learning. Having a technology like the Skills Passport will mean that you are in continuous engagement with graduates and alumni and employer partners. And there's huge value to that, huge elements that you can offer and communicate through. So if you are ready to transform your institution, then we have two potential offers for you today. So the first offer is around a 4-week course that we'll be starting in the next few months. And it is around the strategies to launch a skills passport platform solution, a learning and talent marketplace, whatever you decide to define it. If you are at the point of maybe you've started to try and build one, that's the case of many universities we're speaking with, because they've realized they need to do more. Maybe you're thinking about building one, or maybe you're thinking about partnering with the likes of a company such as Abodoo. This course, which is a weekly course, 90 minutes a week, we will go through step by step what is involved, what are the challenges we're addressing, and if you are going to try and create it yourself, what needs to happen. Even if you decide to partner with an organization like Abodoo, this course will give you the strategy, because without a learning and talent marketplace strategy, it is the bedrock for everything. It's the bedrock for success. It's the bedrock from buy-in from the key stakeholders that you will need to have in place. That is the first offer, which will send information after the webinar today to you. The second is, if you would like to book a skills discovery meeting with our team, you are very welcome. Maybe you're intrigued and you actually just want to see the Skills Passport platform. What does it look like? How does it work? Just show me. We'd be more than happy to set up a meeting with you and show you. Our mission is to activate 100 million skills passports by 2030. And the only way we're going to achieve our mission and try and help as many underrepresented groups access opportunities and learning is to partner with world-class educators. So whether you're at the point of you just have the traditional education and you haven't done micro-credentials yet, or you have and you want to drive it, we want to support you. So we will send information after, and please feel free to get in touch. But thank you so much for listening today. It's been an absolute pleasure to hold this masterclass.
Thank you.